So we've come to the lower level of the Church of the Virgin Mary at St. Mark's Convent in Jerusalem. And this room once went far beyond this wall. There's another part of the room beyond this wall. It is believed by the Syrian Orthodox Church that this is actually the upper room. I want to remind you, we've considered the story of the Last Supper at the alternative site for the upper room. I want to remind you here of a second story. Jesus has just finished serving the supper, the meal, and he hears the disciples arguing with one another. What are they arguing about? Which one of us is the greatest? They still don't understand, after the Last Supper, that Jesus is going to die the next day. Which one of us is the greatest? After 3 years with Jesus in public ministry, they still don't understand which one of us is the greatest. And so Jesus says this, listen, the kings of this earth lord it over their subjects, but it's not going to be that way with you. The truly great among you will be your servants. In John's Gospel, he illustrates this in a profound way. As you may recall, there was water that was used to wash people's feet as they entered into a house. They took off their shoes, they washed their feet. The disciples entered this room, the upper room. There was a basin of water there and a towel. No one washed their feet. Why? I think it was because each one thought, if I stop and wash my feet, Jesus is going to expect me to wash one of my brother's feet. And they wanted no part of that. And so each one walked past the basin. Jesus gets up from the table. Remember, they're debating which one's the greatest. No one wants to be the servant. Jesus gets up from the table, and he goes and he picks up the basin of water, and he brings it to the disciples, and one by one he begins to wash their feet. He takes the water, washing their feet. They're horrified. I mean, this is not the way it should be. Jesus is our master, and he's washing our feet, but no one says a word until Jesus comes to Simon Peter. And Simon Peter speaks up, and he says, "No, Lord, you will not wash my feet." And Jesus says, "If I don't wash your feet, you have no part of me." And so Simon Peter says, "Well, then my head and my hands too, Lord." And Jesus says, "No, your feet, that's enough."